Aloha, my name is Anna Covert, and I'm coming to you from my battleship here on the beautiful island of Oahu. This week on the Covert Code, the topic is owning your message, how to build a brand that actually stands out. And my special guest is Lisa Apolinski, author, speaker, and founder of Three Dog Right. Featured in Forbes and the New York Times, Lisa has written 5 novels that have helped raise over $1.5 billion in revenue for customers through creating bold content strategies that elevate authority, sharpen messaging, and create long-lasting brand legacy. Often described as a America's digital content futurist, which I can't wait to hear more about that title. I'm very excited to have her on the show today. Thank you so much for being here today, Lisa.
Thank you, Anna, and aloha.
Aloha. So to kick us off, I always like to start with a little background. How did you get to where you are today? What was your little professional journey?
Yeah, so my professional journey started just like I feel like every other marketer. I started in corporate America and I worked for a lot of Fortune 500s. People ask me if I have an industry niche, and I don't, because I've worked in healthcare, pharmaceutical, professional services, uh, uh, higher ed, manufacturing, food and beverage, hospitality. I mean, you name it, I've worked in it. And in that journey, I didn't realize I was actually practicing authority. I didn't know what it was when I was doing it. I quickly became a go-to resource within each organization I was in. I still have contacts even back from 20 years ago of people who contact me because they know I can help them solve their problem, which is amazing.
Wonderful.
And yeah, and in 2012, I went out on my own. I Real quick origin story on that. I was in Milan, Italy. I had just worked a 16-hour day. I was exhausted. It was awful. I called my sister. She let me complain for like 2 minutes, and I was side hustling. This was, right after the 2009 economic crash, and I had to take a job for way lower pay, and I had to work extra jobs to try to financially make it work, right? I mean, I know there are so many people that have worked 2, 3 jobs at a time, and I had a side hustle to help me kind of manage those bills and pay down my debt. And my sister asked me about my side hustle, and my energy changed and my outlook changed. And I was just happy to chat about it. And she let me talk about that for a couple seconds. And she asked me a question that changed the course of my entire career. If your side hustle gives you such joy, why aren't you doing that full time? And I honestly never thought about going out on my own until that moment.
Wow.
Never occurred to me. I thought I would be a corporate warrior for the rest of my life. I would move up to chief marketing officer, chief executive officer, and retire and be done. And within 5 months, I had quit my job and threw myself out into the universe of agency ownership.
Wow.
So I've had my agency for over 13 years, and 2 years ago, so year 11, again, things are shifting, things are changing. I had always worked with Fortune 500s, and it got more and more challenging to work in that space. Not because of anything I was doing, the economic and political atmosphere in there was just changing. You'd have a contact with someone, you'd be working with them for 3 months, and then you go to a meeting and it was like an alien abduction. They like suddenly disappeared and nobody wanted to talk about it. And then they have a new person in there and you had to start your relationship all over again.
Oh, I've been there.
Ah, and
Yeah.
it was, and so work gets stalled or they shift direction, and it's not that you're not doing anything right, but they know that person.
They're on
And
team and yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yep.
And at the same time, I had authors, speakers, small business owners come up to me at conferences where was speaking, not looking for work because they weren't my target audience. And I'm doing this. And they would say, I know you only work with Fortune 500s, but could I just throw a bunch of money at you and you help me solve my problem? and pause 3 seconds for dignity. Yes, I absolutely can help you with that. And it took several of those for me to go, oh, I've been paddling to stay in the same spot when the fish are jumping over there. And but this is my spot, but I like this spot. This is my spot. And letting go of the oar and going to where the fish are moved me into this new phase within my agency.
Wow.
I blew it up, got rid of, it was a full service consulting agency because I had to for Fortune 500s.
Sure.
And I said, you know what? I'm going to go back to what I know I do well and how I started. I started blogging. If you remember when blogs were so popular.
When people
I
actually read them. Just kidding.
Yeah, when people actually read them. And I did opinion piece blogs that still get picked up and talked about 12 years later. I have a big mouth and I'm not afraid to use it. And
Let me take title for a book.
yeah. I probably should do a book like that, right? And, during that time, I really enjoyed content and creating content. And so I went back to my origin roots. My name of my company, it has WRIT in it for a reason, because I started with writing and making your digital mark through your content. And it's funny to see that kind of go full circle back to today, 13 years later, where I help authorities, authors, speakers, consultants, small business owners really own their authority and make their own digital mark in a way that creates lasting brand legacy.
Wow. Well, that is a fabulous story. So when did you decide to start writing your own books? When did that journey happen?
A story for that. I got a story for everything. So in 2017, I moved from Los Angeles to the Phoenix area where I live now. And in December of 2017, one of my best friends, Diana, had heard someone speak and bought his book, How to Grow Your Consulting Business. Great title. Very obvious what it's going to do. And she bought it for me and she sent it to me. And I read it. And in the back, the two authors, Mark LeBlanc, who is also my business coach, and Henry DeVries, who is my publisher, who run a full publishing media company called Indie Books International, had his contact information in the back, and he was located in Oceanside, California, and still is. And if anyone knows me, I am fearless when it comes to talking to people. I don't feel like anybody's off limits because everyone has an interesting story that I want to hear. It's not about me getting something from them. It's me hearing their story and gaining that insight.
Yes.
And I reached out to him a couple of times, and I was going to be in Oceanside that summer. And I'm like, I'm going to be in Oceanside. I'd like to meet with you. And the whole purpose of my conversation when I met with him was I wanted to hear his journey. What could I learn about running my agency to get better? And what things did he do that maybe I should be considering? Our 40-minute coffee turned into a 3-hour conversation. And he's like, you should be writing a book. And at that point, I had only been in business for 5 years. I say only. And I was like, oh, I have nothing to say. I have absolutely nothing to say. Who would want to listen to me? And he's like, no, you have a book in you. And that's when my first book, Weathering the Digital Storm, came out. And I realize now, as you know, because you're about to publish your second book, leaders always lead. There's always another book in you. Now, did I think I was going to I'm working on book number 6 right now.
Wow. Amazing.
Did I think I was going to be doing 6 books? No. I thought I'll do 1 and that'll be good. I'm an author. And I didn't realize that everyone who is an authority, they have multiple books in them because they have different areas that they can lean into with stories, with experiences, with client work that can help connect with their audience and help them move to their future success point.
I agree with you. I mean, when I first wrote my first book, I thought it was much longer, and then I spoke to Forbes and they're like, this is too long. Like no one this is a business book. It's got to be between 45 and 55 words, right? For an average reader, that wants
Right.
to read a book and move on. And I feel the same way when I read business books. I'm like, you want to get, I should be able to get enough. Like, and then
Right.
either deep dive or move to the next topic. But I think you're right. Like I've already thought about, well, maybe, there needs to be another one about technology transformation, right? So we'll see.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. And I love that, I live in the world of multiple right answers. There are so many types of books that are out there. Another mentor of mine, Mark Schaefer, who I co-authored the most amazing marketing book ever with. He writes really long books and, God bless him, good for him. And I've bought every single one of his books. I will honestly say that I've never completely finished any of his books except for the one I helped co-author with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know that's horrible, but I get distracted. I read at night. I don't know if you do that. I read kind of to calm my brain down. It's a way for me to like a ritual just to slow down, not have the phone, not be talking on, looking at anything, with social media.
Right.
Yeah. And I wanted to write books that I love to read. My books, you can, with the exception of my co-author one, but it's chock full of stuff and you can break it up. My books, you can read on a flight from Phoenix to Chicago, and you will have at least 10 things that you're ready to do when you walk off that plane. Those are the books I want to write because that's the kind of movement my clients are looking for.
That's a great pivot point. I love that. So tell us, what is one thing today that people who are listening to this podcast or watching this podcast can do to begin this transformation of creating content that really stops the scroll?
I'm going to give you two. How about that?
I
I'll
like
give you one and a bonus. So, number one, when we write content, it has to always, did I mention always, have value to the reader. You have an area of genius where you handle one problem exceptionally well. That if you got your hands on that problem for that person, you could get them to the finish line. And I believe that for every single person. There's one thing for sure that you're like, oh my God, that's absolutely my wheelhouse. I can knock that out of the park. Understanding what that problem is and how you solve it via disruption, transformation, uniqueness, not the ers, better, faster, cheaper, longer. Ugh. No, I want you to really think about what one thing you do that just blows the mind of your clients and lean into that. Now, my boyfriend will argue that I give away too much stuff. And I kind of agree. My brand is being relentlessly helpful. I love helping people. And they'll say, well, you share too much online. You write about your stuff. My book, Persuade with a Digital Content Story, has a 6-step formula within it to write content that is persuasive, to do storytelling in a way that is relevant and relatable and builds a relationship. And I still have clients.
That's right.
So what you give away when you are really leaning into your authority is this much of this much. It's a tiny, tiny amount. And I'm actually, one of the things that I always do is I always do a 30-minute consult call with anybody. And I can't help myself. I will absolutely coach during that call because if I see something that I'm like, oh, please fix this. If you fix that one thing, I know you're going to get this, this, and this. I want people to do it. I don't want to say, well, you need to pay me $100. No,
I'm the
no.
exact same way. I mean, even on podcasts like this, like I'll open someone's website and be like, "You're missing your privacy policy." Like things like because that's
Yes.
it's through that's like the art the art of reciprocity and
Yes.
and when what you give, you get back, and that's how the universe.
Absolutely.
Right? If you're willing to
Absolutely.
give nothing, then you get nothing.
Right. Right. And if everything is a price tag, which I don't want to tell people how to live their lives. However, when you look at the way you can show up with your target market, with your future potential clients, you can look at it as transactional or you can look at it as relationship.
Yeah.
Transactional is very superficial and it'll always be I give you something to get something back,
Yes.
which means the person has to be willing to give you something in order to get something back. And you look at it that, well, I'll only talk to you if you're a client that I can close.
Right.
You're missing so much when you do that.
Yes.
You're missing stories. You're missing connecting people together so that they move forward and they gain success.
And it makes me think about like, the idea of when you talk to a lawyer, right? And they're charging you in 15-minute increments. And as a result,
Yes.
like whenever you get on the phone, they're like, "Oh, how are you?" I don't even want to tell you how I am because I don't want
Right.
charged for telling you about the talking story, right? You know why we call it talking story, right? Just like chit-chatting, right? Like we're talking right.
Right.
And I think that that's exactly it. Like when you remove, it's like, what is for me, like what's most important is transparency and fairness, right? So
Yes.
got to be equal and it's got to be fair. And if I feel like someone's being taken advantage of, then I get very reactive to that, right?
Right.
My
Right.
book because of how much digital fraud there was. Lisa, I had people crying to me on the phone, like where had I
Yeah.
been that they had been, taken advantage of so many times, and I like someone had to do something about it, right?
Yes. Yes.
I think that you're 100% right, and we should always take that into account. Like, what can we learn by just taking a breath and being like, this time is worth just a connection. Does it have to that's
Yes.
transaction too? I love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I totally agree with you. If I had a dollar for every time when I have a conversation and when I have coffee chats, I just want to learn about the other person and see what I can do to support them. Can I make a connection? Can I make an introduction? Can I provide some knowledge? Anything. And I inevitably hear, God, I really want to work with you, but I'm a little gun shy because I spent all this money on marketing
Yeah.
and I got nothing out of it.
I know.
And I hear that over and over and over and over.
If I had a
And
dollar for every time I heard that, right?
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
part.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
And, what's really interesting is they know they need to make a change. And my job is to make sure that they have lowered their perception of risk when they hire me. And what can I do to help them to lower that perception of risk?
Hmm.
And I actually had a call with a client earlier today, and she said something, and I'm absolutely going to post it because she was spot on. It's amazing how people don't want to spend the money to do it right, but then they'll spend 10 times the amount of money to do it over.
True. That's
It's
true.
a perception of risk. It's a perception of risk. And, with clients that I work with, you know, can I give should I be giving a money back guarantee? No, because I teach you exactly what it is that I do and practice every single day that has kept me in business and a steady, predictive stream of clients that are right fit. And I want to actually break those down. Um, and I practice it every single day. It's up to you when you get that information, if you'll apply it, if you'll be disciplined, if you'll get into a habit. But I'm giving you every single tool that I use and every single really psychological consideration that I use to help my clients go, she is absolutely the person that I need to work with.
And
And
they'll
when
listen
they,
to you.
and they'll listen to me, and it's an investment, not an expense. I love when those conversations move into it's an investment. because it's not, well, how much do you cost, how much does it cost? And they look at it and go, this is absolutely what I need. And I need to invest this money in myself and my business if I want to continue, and I want to continue easily and well.
And I think that's a really great point because oftentimes I've had the same experience, and I've had my own agency for first I had a business partner for the first 6 years. I started when I was 28. Then I basically fired him, took all the clients, rebranded to Covert Communication, and it's been another 7. I guess it'll be 8 in March. That's why
Wow.
now. But what I think is one of the most what we call the kiss of death, at least in agency world, is when, like you already brought it up, when a new president comes in, or things aren't going well, and the first thing that they chop is marketing. What is this line here that we don't need? Just what is this, like, because it's not overhead, it's not like the equipment that we need to buy. So it's the easiest thing to just scrap, right? And we all
Yeah.
miss there. That's like the first sign of demise, right? But what I
Right.
now is that even when clients are going through like bankruptcies or other things, that they're saying to me that you are the most we know we have to have you, like,
Yeah.
this critical, right? No matter what else is happening out there, that this is fundamental. And I think that's a big shift from a mindset, and the kind of clients I'm looking for that understand that value that we bring.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I had a boss very early in my career tell me that businesses don't shrink to success.
Yeah.
And I always think about that. 30 plus years later, businesses don't shrink to success. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I actually had this conversation last night where I have a several prospective clients that are like, "Oh my God, I need to use your services as soon as I have money, I have this, I have that." And I get it. I have been there. I totally understand it when you are looking at financial choices. And again, I do a lot of stuff for free. I give a lot of stuff away. I have a smaller package so that someone can at least work with me, and buy an hour and a half of my time, and they immediately move the needle. But what he said, and I think it's so true, and this is so true for small business owners, for speakers, for authors, when things seem to be okay, they don't think they need to invest in their authority power. Because I have some clients coming in and I'm like, no, that's exactly when you need to invest in your authority power. You're investing during,
Yeah.
you're investing during the good, so that we all know as business owners, we have these ups and downs and ups and downs.
Absolutely.
And by having authority, by being known for something, by dominating the room, even when you're not in it, you are making your ROI more predictive. So instead of having these massive highs and massive lows, it's much more controlled. Who doesn't want that? You have more right fit clients. Clients, like you said, who value your time, who understand that you're the authority and they should listen to you, who show up and do the work, who pay on time.
Yes.
These are all important things. I don't, and I've had it where when things were really lean and I had to take anything, and I'm sure you've experienced that.
Volunteer.
And I mean, at the end of the day, you're like, oh my God, my brain's going
Why
to
do
blow
I
up.
do this? Why I do yeah, why I do this. It's like always the smallest ones that, that require the most work, right? Unless
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so it really
Yeah, and they can distract you from really leaning into your authority, but, the my clients learn that these are small habits that they can do that don't take a massive amount of time, that have true impact because it's intentional. We're not doing random acts of content. We're doing intentionality, we're doing authority, and every opportunity we have for how we show up is an opportunity to showcase our area of genius. And even if it's a comment on a post, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to go on record, and I'm going to throw out a free thing.
Okay.
When you're making a comment on the post, I am begging you, I am imploring, do not say insightful. Thanks for sharing. That's garbage. That is absolute garbage.
Yep.
Instead, if when you know your area of genius, you can add to the conversation within that comment. If it's insightful, why is it insightful? Why do you think it's insightful? And you get past that initial, again, transactional comment and you get into the meat, the relationship, and you share what is insightful. Betsy Togg is someone that I absolutely love her, and she does authority specifically for corporate women.
Oh,
So we are similar, but we have and maybe a slight overlap, but we both want the same thing for our clients. And when she posts, I never say that's so insightful. I always add in a story, an anecdote, something that happened to me, a tip I can bring, anything to add to the conversation. Not only do I want to make sure I'm always providing value, I don't want people who could be potential clients to read a comment that just says so insightful, thanks for sharing, and they go, that's nice, and they're on to the next comment. It doesn't stick to them, right? There's no stickiness.
yeah.
There's no impact. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. This is and again,
Good tip.
yeah, it's one thing. And it's okay if certain posts you don't really know what to say, then just like it. Hold on to the comments where you always are giving just a little bit of value, just a little bit of value, just a little bit of value.
Yeah, that's a super good strategy. Yeah, that's a great one. So now I'm gonna switch it up to a little bit of direction because we have to, and it's always a sore topic for writers. But AI, let's talk about it. What are our feelings on AI? Using it, not to use it, the where it's going.
Yes.
I have lots to say.
The land of AI, storytelling in the land of AI. Yes. So AI for me is kind of a double-edged sword, right? It's hating the popular kids yet wanting to be at the table.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think that AI is useful to help you get over a writer's block, generate a new idea, do research. I love doing research with AI. I love poking around and seeing what information I can pull out. What I don't like, and I really try to avoid, is using AI to create the content on my behalf. However, because I live in the world of multiple right answers and I know not everybody enjoys writing. For some people, it's like doing math or balancing their checkbook. They just would rather not look at it. And I get it. If you do generate content using AI, I would put two caveats on it. Number one, limit the word count in your prompt. It will give you 3,000 words. Limit it to like 400. That way, you can add in your stories and your perspective and your insight with that as a little bit almost as like and I'm thinking about lunch, the taco shell that you put your salad in, right? And it gives you a little bit of a base, but then you make the content your own.
yeah. Told me I often do the same thing. I'll have a client like that. I'm like, just spew, like just don't even worry about formatting structure. Write me bullet points. Just spew it out, or tell me.
Yes.
I'll spew it out for you. I'll type really fast.
Yes.
And we can pop that in AI and say edit.
Right.
Then it's like, okay, and then we like, oh, then you can play with it a little bit, but
You can absolutely play with
yeah,
it. I would never take content as is from AI.
no,
And again, I think it's so much better to limit the word count. It's so much better.
yeah,
It's just a never ending spew of of words, and no one needs to listen to that. The other thing, and this is the flip side of it, and again, this is in my upcoming book. If you haven't done so, go onto at least 2 AI platforms, ChatGPT, and I like Claude.ai, and put in, what is Anna Covert known for? And see what comes back. I have this one woman that I'm going to be working with. We did that. She has all this other stuff that she's done, and she's spoken, and she's written a book, and all it brought back was her acting stuff from 30 years ago.
Wow.
And she did do acting. And I'm like, okay,
Was it the same
opportunity.
same on both AI on both?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you'll see different things on the platforms, which is okay as well. It gives you more information so that you can help AI discover your area of genius. And I love doing this. So with my book, with this upcoming book, I have taken excerpts and I put them into AI, knowing they're going to go out into the universe. And I ask, Lisa Apolinski, made this comment. What are other opposing views, or how does this align with other viewpoints in marketing from, and then you could list people if you have, it does 2 things. It helps AI look at the content that you're providing in your area of genius against other viewpoints. So it gives you a little bit of insight, and it feeds it to AI in a way that it now internalizes that as, oh, Lisa's the authority on authority power. And so I don't know if you, on my LinkedIn, I actually added one of the things that came back, because I do this from time to time. What is Lisa Apolinski known for? And it said Lisa is known as the digital dominance strategist. I have never said that. I've never commented on it. And I'm like, I'm going to own that. That's pretty damn cool. And I put it in my headline because I'm like, why not? I mean, why not? It does come back as Lisa's known as America's Digital Content Futurist because Forbes dubbed me as such.
Wow.
But I feel almost in a way that that's great, but and I hate to say that, but that's like so 5 years ago, right? Like I've moved forward. And the other thing that I think is so funny, and again, I put it in my book, it brought up something that I know I talk about when I'm interviewed, when I'm on stage, and it's one of my soapboxes that I get on that ends up being an aside that I'm like, this is a pet peeve of mine. It's really, it's really curd my cheese. I got that new terminology from a conversation I had.
Remember American Dad's like, that really grinds my gears. I love that one.
Exactly. It's really creaming my corn.
Yeah.
And it said that this is something that I'm known for. And I was like, really? That's interesting. And so
what was it? What was the thing? What was the box?
My soapbox is, please, again, I'm begging you. I don't like the terms. Actually, I hate them. And it's very rare that I say it. I hate the terms B2B and B2C.
Me too.
Not business to business. It's not business to consumer. It's P2P, person to person, people to people. Because at the end of the day, you still have to have a relationship within that organization to solve their problem.
Yes.
And to get paid. The business doesn't pay you, a person does. The business doesn't sign a contract, a person does. So stop saying B2B and B2C. It really, it goes back to that transactional interaction. And I don't want people to look at things as transactional. There's going to be a time someday where we're going to have that economic upswing. And this, and I was saying this when the pandemic happened, that prior to that, it was like springtime in the Serengeti and there was plenty of water and grass everywhere. And everyone had enough. And there was so much work in business, and we had had it for so long that no one thought the good times were going to end. And then suddenly it became the summer in the Serengeti, and there was no water, and all the grass is dead, and animals are dropping like flies. And that to me really showed that difference of when it's springtime in the Serengeti, you can get away with being transactional.
Yeah.
You can absolutely do it because there's so much
To eat.
client work to
Yeah.
get. You can't assume that that's always going to be the case. And smart leaders will invest in the relationship so that when it's summertime at the Serengeti, they are okay and they survive.
They get invited to the private water pit.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, people still purchase, even in the pandemic, even in a tariff war, even in a zombie apocalypse, people will still purchase. They'll still purchase. The question is, are they going to immediately think, I need to purchase from you?
Right.
That's the difference. That's the absolute difference. And part of my, I don't want to say fear, but we're in this really weird time where we have so much uncertainty. And I think it will start to dissipate. I think we will have somewhat of an economic upswing. And what I don't want to see is for people to get lax and lazy and comfortable. Don't do that. Don't they say that like the highest number of accidents happen within 2 miles of your house?
Makes sense.
Because you're just like, oh, I'm almost home. Blah. You just let your guard down. Please don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that because you don't know when the next is going to happen, right?
And then on that note, you brought up a really important topic, I think, is about the, content and trust today, right? And so, we are in this weird time where people really are changing behavior. They can't necessarily trust what they see or hear. Right. So how do we overcome that as an industry to really like bring back this, belief that they can trust our content?
Yes. Yeah, trust is it's almost a commodity now, isn't it? Where, you're really trying to gain it and you can lose it. Um again, I think if you show up always providing value, if your brand is consistent, so how you show up on your website, on your LinkedIn, in your book, on stage, in your client conversations, being interviewed on podcasts, if you try to make sure that that's always consistent, I think that really helps with the trust. And again, when you truly understand your area of genius, could I do a ton of stuff? Absolutely. Can I build a website? Unfortunately, yes. I have done it. Can I help you with operations and get more efficient? Yeah. Can I help you write a capital expenditure report to get a capital expense approved at the top dollar? Yeah, I can do that. I can do all that. That's great. I want to really make sure that my focus is always on authority. I can do a bunch of stuff kind of well, or I can do this and I can own it.
Yes.
I'd rather own this than do all of this.
Absolutely.
And that's part of that trust. You know, if they, I'm sure, I'm sure that Gordon Ramsay can help pick a site location for a restaurant. I'm sure Gordon Ramsay could probably be really good at hiring vendors. But what I would hire him for and what I would pay top dollar, and I keep talking about him because I'm hoping to God one day he'll be like, I'm going to go to your house and I'm going to do this. I would pay top dollar. Yeah, absolutely. Just keep it out there. Put it out there.
Yes.
I would pay top dollar for him to help me learn how to properly cut vegetables and fruit and do it in a way that's really efficient. Like,
I actually
yes.
was a professional chef, and I used to want to cook something and be like, I cut. I'm like, you know what? Leave me alone. But
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. I can't cut for anything. And I'm sure part of it is my horrible lack of skills. And I also cut myself constantly. I'm really good at that. Like, I don't know if I'm just not
You gotta
spatially
put
aware.
under. That's the key.
Yes.
Your fingers out. You put them a little under, so then you never
Yes.
and then you don't. Yep.
Exactly. Exactly. But that alone, but if he came to my house and helped me learn how to properly make sauces, which I know is a foundational element, properly cut vegetables, which I know is a foundational element, that alone would elevate my skills.
Yes.
And I trust that he would be able to get me there. I don't have to ask other clients. I don't have to, right? I don't have to look at his pricing. I don't have to look at his website. I I know. I know.
Yes.
That's what we want our clients to feel like. That they're like, "Oh my God, I know you can help me get to that success point." And when you're really clear on what you do,
You're 100% right about that because that's the other day, like, and it's
yeah.
just happening more and more. But since I read my book and I have great clients, but now I'll get calls even from people on the podcast where it's like, hey, something doesn't feel right. Like they're about to hire someone to do some marketing or whatnot, and they're asking these things of me, and what do you think? And I'm like, push the pause, break. It's fraud, or
Yeah.
whatever it might be.
Yeah.
They're like, that is really rewarding. It's like that
Yeah.
thinking like, okay, you know what? Like they're on their spidey senses are perked and they're gonna check, right? To see if they're the
Yes.
cat. And I'm like, that's makes me feel really good.
Yes, and I would love for people to call me for that. I would be happy to do a 90-minute dealer's choice to vet another vendor to make sure they're on the up and up. And I always assume when I go into those calls that they are, and I wait to see if they do something or say something that's a huge red flag. And I've written about it. I've done blogs about it. So, yes, I totally agree with you. And just being able to help them make the best choice. And the other thing, when my clients have learned about their area of genius, they're really clear on what their authority power is. When they do hire someone, they can provide that direction and they make that vendor that more successful. They're not floundering. They're not trying to guess. They're not putting stuff out there and seeing what will stick. It's like, here's the recipe, go cook it.
True.
And they're like, wow, awesome. And then the vendor's successful because the client's successful and everybody wins.
Everyone wins. It's like I believe like, competition makes everyone better. It's like
Yes,
the reason to share. Be like, why would you say things to yourself? Why would you tell everyone your how you do your tricks? I'm like, because they're never gonna want to do it themselves.
that's right.
They'll want me to do it. And or if they want to, they can like, let's all do it together, and
Yeah.
industry up.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I would add to that. Absolutely. And because again, my boyfriend, he's like, people they're going to steal your stuff. I will say this. How you got to that area of genius is uniquely you. Someone can try to imitate it, but what you do is very nuanced and no one is ever going to replicate that. No one. They can imitate it, but it'll never be the original. And people can tell the difference.
That is a perfect place, I think, for us to stop right there. That was really powerful, Lisa. Thank you so much for being a guest today. How do people get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me, connect with me on LinkedIn, and please be sure to subscribe to my newsletter. Again, I give away a lot of free information, a lot, probably way more than I should. I want you to be successful. I stand for your success. And whether you become a client in a day or a decade, there is information that I can provide that'll at least move you further down the needle. And if you do want to have a conversation with me, and again, I love having coffee chats. It's a 30-minute consult call, no selling, no cost, no kidding. Please email me at lisa@3dogright.com. That's the number 3, dog, D-O-G, which she's laying right there. Right, like right with a pet, WRIT.com. And we'll set that up. You can also message me on LinkedIn and we'll set that up. I love having conversations with people. I love hearing their stories and seeing what I can do to support them. And when I say, how can I support you? I actually want to. So please take me up on it.
I believe it, and that's wonderful. Thanks so much for being on the show today. To all my listeners, please join me next week as I interview another industry expert to help you succeed on and offline. Thank you so much for all your support. We just reached 20,000 fans on YouTube, and we couldn't do that without you. So please continue to like the channels and engage in the content so we can get more fantastic guests like Lisa. And thank you so much. I'll see you in the pixels. Aloha. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Covert Code podcast. To stay up to date with all our future episodes, follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means everything to us. Please take a moment to leave a review and share our content with your friends and colleagues on social media. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more digital innovators like yourself. See you in the pixels. Aloha.